Hi guys, and welcome to another kit review. Okay, so today we're having a look at a kit from T model. Kit number is TK3501. It's in 1/35 scale. It is a German 80-ton type, I call it a SSyms, but it's SSyms Schwerer Platformwagen. So basically, tank not included, by the way, so don't get your hopes up. So basically it is an 80-ton, as the Americans call it, flat car, capable of carrying Tiger 1s and Tiger 2s. So as German tanks got heavier, they needed to increase the weight carrying of their railway wagons. So this is the 80-ton. There was also a 30, I believe, and a 40/50, depending on what they needed it for. Alright, so box states that the kit length is 377 millimeters, it's 90 millimeters wide, 72 millimeters high. I think that might be including the rail bed as well. Usual plastic and metal parts, glue not included. So this says there's 302 parts in here, including 60 PE. So 60 PE means relatively experienced modelers who dealt with PE parts. Definitely not for a beginner. Okay, so let's have a look at the box itself. So this is your flat car, and on the sides you'll see PE set. Okay. That's the flatbed of the wagon. So apparently this particular kit comes in 3 different levels, two of which get a self-adhesive wood grain for the actual bed of the wagon, and the top line gets an additional PE set from what I've heard. Okay, so that's that side. We go to the other side. There we go. That's the wagon. This is what you get. Flatbed, track. Okay, that's your front view. And of course, all the decals necessary, because there are a lot of warnings, labels, etc. on the sides of railway cars. Right, so let's have a look. So this one here, this kit is a 3501. You got 3501 I, S, and a G. So these are the different ratings. So depending on, so this is just the basic model. You've got the 1, or the I should say, which gets the self-adhesive, and then you've got the S, which gets, I believe, the self-adhesive wood grain plus another PE, and I'm not sure what the G gets. Anyway, on the back you'll see, just like a Dragon kit, 3D CAD drawings showing you the PE parts of the kit. Very nice detail for the linkage and brake lines. Okay, there's your bogies, wheels, deck with a wooden pattern. Okay, this is the gold version exclusive, which is PE internal structures for underneath the wagon, which you won't see anyway. Thing I like about this kit, you can have a straight length of track, or with some minor modifications, you can actually curve it. So that's something different. Good way of displaying it. And the sleepers themselves also have a wood pattern. Okay, so let's have a look in the box. So I've already had a look in this box ages ago when I first bought it. And so don't be surprised if the sprue bags are open. Surprise! Okay, instructions. Okay, we'll have a look at those in a second. That we don't need. there's your PE, which is brackets, etc., for the bed of the wagon and also for the sides. And there's your decal sheet. Alright, so yeah, one bag of sprues, self-sealing. Oh, by the way, the PE, it's also a self-sealing bag. I wish most manufacturers would do it. This is just your track bed, okay? Next bag is 2 sprues exactly the same. Right, so there's your bed of the wagon. These are your frames for the actual bogies, plus adjustment wheels, etc. And also your connections and brake lines for the ends. There's an end there, and the buffers for the ends of the wagon. And the next bag is 4 sprues, all exactly the same. Wheels, brakes, and axles, etc. And also side frames and side frames of the wagon itself. So side frames for the bogies. Alright, so give me a minute and we'll have a look at the sprues. And the box, nothing else, bit of advertising for some 1/72 scale kits that this manufacturer also produces. Right, so let's put that away, and I'll get these things out of the bags. Okay, so before we have a look at the sprues, let's have a look at the instructions. So, front page, English, Chinese, basic description, and why the Germans needed an 80-ton 6-axle flat car. Okay, so that's reasonable. Okay, you'll find internet resources will tell you a little bit more. It is very hard to get pictures of just the car, the wagon itself though. Most of the time you'll just see wagons with vehicles on. Alright, so let's have a look. First page. Okay, sprue layout. Okay, decals. This one is your PE, which you will get with every particular thing. As I said, there are 4 different kits in this one model, each one getting a little bit more. So as you can tell, this is the self-adhesive wood grain, what can I say, well that's it, self-adhesive wood grain, which you can use to replace the wood grain on the flatbed of the wagon. This is the additional PE kit, which is not in this model. Neither are those, because this is just the base model. These here are just additional supports, etc., for underneath the wagon, which you wouldn't normally see. Anyway, so usual, fill this, open this, optional, etc. Okay, well, let's have a look at construction. So we start off with the sides of the bogies. Don't forget, you're going to make 2 of these, so a bit at a time, dry fit always. Then you put the wheels together. Okay, clean this hole so there's a warning about making sure that the axles actually work. Right, so we're constructing the bogies a bit at a time. Lots of fiddly bits to go on. Okay, my suggestion would be to construct the rail bed first, so that when you construct the bogies with the wheels, everything lines up. Next stage. Okay, so here we have the 2 halves of the wagon bed and the bottom frame. Okay, that's the bogie mounts. These are your PE for additional PE parts, okay, that don't come in this kit. It says it right there. Wooden deck is included in TK3501 S and G. I don't have that particular one because I opted for the slightly cheaper kit. I wouldn't have used it anyway, because the bed already has wood grain and it will be much easier to weather it than to try and weather a self-adhesive wood grain. Anyway, now we come to putting the sides together. Fairly straightforward kit, right? Not a lot to actually the wagon. More complex parts are your PEs and the bogies. So basically, sides, top, bogies, done. That's where it comes down to all the small parts going on the side, including adjustment wheels, etc., buffers, okay, connections, connection chains, etc. for the ends. So if you had a couple of these, you could rig it so that they could be joined via the connections and the brake hoses. And there we go. So that is the self-adhesive wooden deck. It's available in 3501 I, S and G. This is just a TK3501 base model. Alright, so there is some very fine parts to put together. More buffers, lots of fine parts for the ends where the detail is. Right, upright stanchions, you get a choice here. So the upright stanchions can go on the sides for narrow loads like trucks or Cooper wagons or something, but for a tank like a Tiger tank or a Tiger 2, those uprights would be actually attached to the side of the car here, so that they didn't get in the way. Next is your flatbed. Flatbed, sorry. Alright, so this is your rail bed. Okay, as you can tell, if you cut in certain points, you can actually curve it. That I like, but as I said, I would construct this first, so that as you build the bogies, everything will be in alignment and everything will sit flat. And there you have it. This is your color codes, options. Okay, not much in the way of options. You've got 7 colors. It does give you the RAL standard. So if you don't use Vic, Mig Ammo, Tamiya, Mr. Hobby or Vallejo, and I always use Vallejo because I like the way the brushes and things clean up in water. If you don't use any of those, you can always go with the RAL standard color. Whatever paint manufacturer you use should have an equivalent to that RAL. And that's it. That's the instructions. Fairly straightforward, but there is a bit of work in there, so care is needed, especially with Photo Etch. Okay, so let's have a look at the Photo Etch. There we have it. That's the Photo Etch that came with this particular kit. It is very fine mesh. Okay, some very fine parts in here. A lot of Photo Etch. So if you haven't used Photo Etch before, care, that's all I can say. Take your time, read the instructions, dry fit always. I think these will definitely enhance the look of the model. Put that away, and so I don't know if you can see this. There's a lot of reflection on this. I'll give you stills as normal anyway. Okay, these are the decals. Right, they're very fine. They are not too bad in register. There's a little bit of excess, but that's necessary because there's some very fine lines on this particular decals signs. So we'll have a look at those in the still. It'll give you a better idea. There's way too much reflection on this. Very shiny. Okay, so that's that. Alright, so put that away. Let me get the sprues out of the bags and we'll have a look at those. Okay, welcome back, and let's have a look at the sprues. So first off, we will have a look at, this is the main bed of the wagon, okay, and the bogie frames, as well as the brake lines and connections, and adjusting wheels. So there's brake lines, there's your connection between wagons. Cannot see a lot of flash on this. There are some molding marks on the base here underneath that you won't see anyway, but the detail is fairly sharp. Some nice bolt detail on some parts, and yes, there is actually a wood grain, a very fine wood grain. Remembering this is 35th scale, so it would be fine wood grain on the track, on the bed of the wagon, which definitely would be much easier to weather, alright, than a self-adhesive wood grain. Okay, so that's that, and there's two of these. Okay, so the next, okay, so the next one is, right, so there are 4 sprues exactly the same. There's the sides of the wagon, these are the sides of the bogies, alright. Axles, wheels, brakes for the bogie wheels, right, and fittings for the front and back of the wagon itself. Okay, so that area there, those 3 rings, okay, so that will be very tricky to get off without breaking them, but if you take your time and care, it should be possible. Same goes with these. Detail, well, detail on the wheels. Railway wagon wheels are cast, so you won't have bolts and stuff, but you can definitely weather those up to look really nice. Detail on the wagon sides, not a great deal. Right, not a great deal. No flash that I can see, although there are 1 or 2 molding marks, especially on the insides of the wheels, that will need to be taken care of. Okay, so that's your basically bogie wheels and frames. And last but not least, alright, so there are 2 of these. This is your track bed. Okay, rails, joiners, sleepers, that's it. There is some, again, very fine detail on the sleepers. Wood grain, which is really nice. Very nicely done as far as the bolts and things are concerned. So that has some really good detail on it. For just something which is just, well, an accessory. So, like I said, I would definitely build this first. Okay, that way you can ensure that your wheels on your bogies are nice and straight and they're all touching the rails. Okay, so that's basically all you get as far as the sprues are concerned. And there you have it. That is T Models German 80-ton Schwerer Platformwagen. If you're into 35th scale railway wagons, loads, etc., this is definitely one that I would give a try if you can pick it up fairly cheap. I believe this one was on special. It is the base model. Okay, this is a 3501, like I said, and you do have upgrades, so to speak, that you can have a look for. But from what I've seen as far as the decals, etc. concerned, and the weathering potential, you can't go wrong. Okay, and that basically brings us to the end of this kit review. Hope you've got something for it, from it, not for it. Hey, and until next time, stay well.